Okay, so this is where we are today. We're doing 11-2. You have your bookwork for your homework. Tomorrow we're going to do the S&P 500, just a short little assignment on that, showing you kind of a snapshot. This is not posted, and that will be due tomorrow at midnight. The reason that isn't posted because I need to actually change the Google form. Remember, the stock market changes every day, even throughout the day, all day. So I will be updating that tomorrow morning and then posting it. We'll look at some stuff on retirement, do 11-3 on Wednesday. Thursday, this may change. I actually just found a new documentary, kind of a documentary called something on Netflix called Money Explained, and I started watching that. There are a couple of episodes I thought might be worth showing in here. So we might do that on Thursday or next week. I'm trying to see where I can fit it in. Friday, your attendance question will be due by noon. And other than that, everything due on Friday. I did not repost the chapter 11 PowerPoint because I posted it back here from last week since we started chapter 11 then. Any questions on that? All right, so here we go with our slides then. Today we're going to start our medium risk choices. So we'll give you a second while I get this open. So your medium risk choices, we're going to list and describe them. Also retirement accounts, and then through investors and the ones available through employers. So some of your options, the first one is a mutual fund. A mutual fund is a group of investments bought using a pool of money from many investors. The combined holdings of a mutual fund are called its portfolio. Investors buy shares in the fund, which represent the part ownership. So we already watched a video on mutual funds last week when we did the stock market basics. So remember, it's like this whole basket of different stocks and bonds kind of put together. It is its own portfolio. So when you invest in a mutual fund, chances are you are already being diverse because that's portfolios often are. Sometimes they focus on one industry or one index, but you just have part ownership there in the fund. So you do not need to write all of this down. There is a lot here, but you can kind of just put the bullet points. The advantages, so mutual funds are convenient, they're diverse, which I already said. So being diverse, they reduce the risk. So that's the benefit of buying a mutual fund versus individual stocks. They are professionally managed. And investment size. So you can invest small or large amounts of money into a mutual fund, even if you don't have much financial or investing experience. So, and we talked about this last week when we talked about the stock market. You might not have enough money to buy shares of stock in Google, but you might invest in a mutual fund that has Google as part of its portfolio. So then you do have part of Google in yours as well. So mutual fund types, there are a lot of them. We talked about the videos last week, talked about index funds, and that might be the only one on here that we talked about. You do not need to know all of these. I'm not going to test you on the difference between like a balance fund and a bond fund, etc. Just know that they exist. When you go to invest in a fund, you may want to do your research on the different types of funds. We did talk about money market funds as well. So just know that there are a lot of different types of mutual funds. So asset allocation is choosing a combination of funds within a single mutual fund company. So some mutual funds will allow you to do asset allocation. So you get to pick to have a different variety of risks. So in this example, you could put 20% into the bond fund, 20% into growth fund, 20% into global. They don't all have to be equal. They just chose to be fairly balanced with, except for this person is taking a small amount, 5%, into a higher risk fund. So emerging young businesses that could become highly profitable and provide a high return. So again, some mutual funds will allow you to have asset allocation where you get to pick which types of funds you want to split your money between. So stocks we again talked about already, but stocks are considered a medium risk investment option. Some of this is repetitive since we did the little mini lesson last week on stock. So if you already have it and know some of this, you do not need to write it all down again. But stocks are ownership interest in a company. So you own a share of the company, also equity. So there's common stock, which is a type of stock that may pay a variable dividend and gives owners voting rights. Or a preferred stock is a type of stock that guarantees a fixed dividend, but does not provide voting rights. So preferred stocks guaranteed the dividend even if the company is not doing well. They typically cost more because there's less risk involved in them. If a company goes bankrupt, preferred stockholders would be paid first before common stockholders. So there are, we already talked about this, the two ways to make money from stocks. You can get capital gain, so selling it for more than you paid for it, or dividends, which we've defined a handful of times already, but money paid to stockholders, often quarterly from a corporation's profit. There are several categories of stock: growth stock, income stock, value stocks, blue chip stocks, and defensive stocks. So each of these is in your book if you wanted to read a little more into them about the differences. Again, this is mostly, I don't think most of you are ready to invest in the stock market. And when we did that activity last week, most of you said you would do a little bit more research if it was real money. So this is kind of just saying, hey, look, there are different types. When you're ready, do your research. There's these different types of stocks if one seems to interest you more than the other. Again, there's a, do not copy this down word for word. There's so much here, and I actually meant to edit this and forgot. We've already looked at a lot of this. We talked about the Dow Jones, how it's the 30 significant stocks on the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ. S&P 500 stock market index based on market capitalization of 500 large companies. And then the NASDAQ composite, a stock market index of the common stocks and similar securities listed on the NASDAQ. So again, that's review. Those are the main US indices though, the Dow Jones, S&P 500, or the NASDAQ. This is a slide. There's a, not a slide, an image. There's a typo on here somewhere, so I couldn't edit it, I remember. The importance of the indices though. So the stock market indices are useful in a number of ways. So they provide a historical perspective of the stock market performance. They provide a yardstick for which investors can compare the performance of their individual stock portfolios. So you can compare how your stocks are doing to any of, to like the S&P 500 or the Dow or the NASDAQ. Also a forecasting tool. So historical perspective, how has it done? And then forecasting tool, trying to predict how it's going to do in the future. Again, we've talked about some of this. No, you don't need to know all of these, but the 10 largest stock markets. So the New York Stock Exchange is the largest in the world. NASDAQ's up there as well. Just knowing that this is here to remind you there are different stock markets. You can't go by the example we saw Samsung here in the US. You have to go to the Korean market. Which again, I didn't know that before I started teaching this class because I never really looked into investing. All right, and then your personal residence is another medium risk investment choice option. So many financial experts saying buying your home is actually the best investment you will ever make. So in the long run, again, do not copy all this down word for word. There's a lot going on here. Your house often outgrows inflation, the value of your home. And if the value of your home declines, you still have somewhere to live. The cost may be more stable than renting. So if you have that fixed rate mortgage where your monthly payment is the same every month for typically 30 years, it's never changing. But if you're renting, your landlord can change your rent. Paying rent is like flushing money down the toilet. You are paying someone else's mortgage and helping them build equity. So it's better to have your own home so you can build your own equity. And then it's a good tax shelter. Remember, some of those tax shelters where you can avoid taxes legally. So you can deduct an interest on your mortgage and the property taxes from your income when you do your tax return. And then if you sell your house, you don't have to pay capital gains tax if you're single on $250,000 profit, or if you're married on $500,000 profit. So if you're married and you and your spouse sell a home and you make $499,000, you don't have to pay any taxes on that money. That would be pure profit. Assuming, again, I talked about this briefly before, that you lived in your home. There's a couple different things, but if that is your home and that's where you've lived for the last few years, then you don't have to pay those capital gains taxes. There are some cons. Owning a home is illiquid. Even if you have equity in your home, you can't get the cash quickly. You can't go sell your home and then have cash tomorrow. You may be able to get a home equity loan. I don't recommend doing that unless you needed to, but for quick options. But most loans still aren't even quick. And then housing prices can go down. So you could end up taking a loss if you had to sell your house, or you could wait for it to go back up. But your monthly payment, if you have that fixed rate mortgage, would still be staying the same, even if the value drops or goes up. When you compare housing prices, we often look at the median instead of the mean or the average. So we've probably all heard these terms. Average is the mean. I know we've done that a couple times. The median is the middle value. So the benefit of using the median is it doesn't take the outliers into effect. Maybe there's like one or two mansions around. Maybe there's some really rundown houses that need to be kind of completely remodeled or tore down if they're that bad, something. So it just kind of is the very middle of all of the housing. Mode, we don't need to talk about. This is just an image of mean, median, mode. You probably heard that back. I think it comes up in 6th or 7th grade. So this is a little bit outdated, but it still gives you an idea. So the black there is the San Francisco median house price. The yellow is the California. And then down there in that reddish, maroonish color, looks like here, is the US. So you can see California is higher than the US. And the San Francisco is even higher than that. So median, the middle housing prices. This is Bay Area home sales, the median prices by county. Solano County is not on here, but it still gives you an idea, just kind of, we are above the California in the US. Kind of zooms in a little bit just on those counties. All right. But that's just to show you, you don't need to know any of this. Your price depends on where you live, which I know we've talked about in here, like some of the examples, $250,000. You're not buying a house in Benicia right now for $250,000. But if you go outside of California, there are several places you could spend $250,000 and get a home. So location is relevant in the cost. All right, and then individual retirement accounts. So individual retirement accounts are a way to help meet long-term needs and your financial goals. They are considered medium risk, which is why they're in this section. So a traditional IRA is an individual retirement account in which contributions are tax deductible and grow tax deferred. That means you pay the taxes when you take the money out. Again, we've said it several times, or I have. You will likely be in a lower tax bracket later on. So when you're making money, you're in a higher tax bracket, and then later on, you're not making as much money, lower tax bracket. Most likely. We never know how taxes are going to change from over the years. A Roth IRA is an individual retirement account which your contributions are taxed, but earnings are not. So you pay taxes, then you put your money into that account, and you don't pay taxes on it ever again because you pay your taxes before you put the money in. And they have different like specifications. The traditional IRA, you can start taking money out at 59 and a half. You have to at 70 and a half. A Roth IRA, you do not have to start making withdrawals at any age. You can after 59 and a half. We'll do more about retirement plans too, so don't stress too much now. A Keogh plan is a tax-deferred retirement plan for self-employed individuals and their employees. All contributions come from the employer. Contributions are tax deductible and grow tax deferred. So if you plan on owning your own business, you would be self-employed. This is a plan you may want to look into. I am not self-employed. So it is one I don't know many of the little things about, but they are an option for those of you that plan on owning your own business, or if you work for somebody that is self-employed, a small business, they may offer this. A simplified employee pension plan is a tax-deferred retirement plan for small business owners and their employees. These are same idea for small business owners. They are easier to set up than the Keogh plan. Similar to an IRA, a traditional IRA, you can't do your withdrawals before 59 and a half. So those are the different types of individual retirement accounts. And then there are some that are going to be offered from your employer. So a defined benefit plan. A pension plan is an employee-sponsored retirement plan where workers receive a guaranteed monthly amount upon retirement based on wages earned and the number of years of service. So a defined benefit plan is an employer-sponsored retirement plan where when you retire, you receive a set monthly amount for life. But again, it's based on how much money you made and how many years you worked there. Workers must be vested in the plan by working a certain number of years. Not many employers offer them. So to be vested, you have to be there a certain number of years. We'll talk more about this tomorrow as well. But to be vested, you work there, and that means that plan is then yours. You can take it with you when you leave if you don't stay with that company. So sometimes to keep their retirement plan, maybe you have to work there 10 years. Maybe you're there 9 years and you're not really loving it, but you know if you stay another year, you get to take that retirement plan with you. Otherwise, the company keeps it. It might be worth staying there for another year to keep that money. If you put the money in, yes, it's yours, but with a pension plan, they are putting the money in, not you. So that's a defined benefit plan. Different from a defined contribution plan, which is an employer-sponsored retirement plan where workers receive a monthly amount upon retirement. The amount of the contribution by the employer and employee are defined, but the benefits are not. The amount received monthly depends on the amount of money in an employee's account and investment gains and losses. So with that other one, the defined benefit plans, like that pension plan, you get a set amount regardless. Once you become vested and you have a certain number of years and you made a certain amount of money. Whereas a defined contribution plan like a 401k and 403b, the amount of money you get depends on how much money is in that account. It doesn't have to do with how many years you worked there and how much money you made. It's how much money is contributed to this plan, tells you how much money you are going to get out. These are more common. Pension plans are not super common. There are certain sectors that have them: education, firefighters, police, some public service like that. They will have the pension plans, where defined contribution plans are going to be more common. A 401k, maybe you've heard the term. I know I had previously, even before I really knew what it was, but it's a tax-deferred retirement plan for employees offered by businesses that operate for a profit. Where a 403b plan is the same thing, but it's for nonprofit organizations, schools, government units, places not operating for a benefit or for a profit. So with the 401k, similar with the 403b, I will often say 401k, but it's usually the same thing for 403b, just the type of company you work at is different. You decide how much money you want withheld from every paycheck to go into this account. Sometimes it's 5%. Maybe you say you want $500. You get to pick. I know I showed you guys something a little while back about how much money you should be saving for retirement if you want to retire rich or poor. So something to consider: how much money do you want to put away? Taxes are deferred. Some employers offer matching. So employers offering 401k and 403b plans may offer to match an employee's contribution. So say you put 5% of your paycheck every month into your 401k, the employer will also put 5% away. So say you're putting, let's just say $500, the employer, whoever you work for, they will put another $500 into that retirement account for you. That's not what they're paying you. It's basically like free money that you're going to get when you retire. So you should always max out the match. Not every company does it. Every company is different with how much. Some could be 5%, some are only 3%, some are a certain dollar amount. but they're putting extra money into your retirement account for you. So however much you're being paid, this is on top of that. So anytime they offer matching into a retirement account, you want to do that as much as you can, as much as they will match. A rollover is the process of moving a retirement account balance to another qualified account without incurring a tax penalty. So you should do this if you change employers. Same thing, make sure you are vested so you don't lose your investments before you move jobs. So again, as I was saying, you might not be vested till 10 years. If it's a 401k and your company is putting extra money in and you leave before you're vested, you don't get to take the money that they put in. You get to take whatever money you put in. But if they were matching it and you're not vested in that company, you don't get to take their money. They get to keep that when you leave. So you want to make sure you're vested so you don't lose that money. Because again, it's like free money that they put into that account that you will get when you retire. So most of these 401ks, 403bs, they can be rolled over. They can move to a different account when you change employers. So they're portable, kind of the same idea. Rollover is just that process of taking it with you. So look into the terms of your retirement account when you set them up, maybe. Definitely before you do it, but if you're comparing different accounts and which one works best for you, look into those small things that may matter down the road. All right, so that is it for today. So your medium risk investment choices, those mutual funds, stocks, your personal residence, and then retirement accounts are considered a medium risk choice as well. Tomorrow we are going to do more